Edgar, parang sa construction parang walang pandemic ah. So I was computing, sabi mo 52 billion before pandemic, you lost 8 billion during the pandemic. Tapos you're now what? 63 billion order book. So kino-compute ko 20 billion yung additional, tama ba?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, correct. Kasi Marvin, there are two big projects Just these two projects. One is the Sun City. Actually, we haven't really booked totally, the Sun City. It's only about 1/2 to 2/3 of the projects because we are still expecting some of the packages to be rolled out. So, and we also have the 36 billion. But since we are just 35% of the consortium, plus we also supply some of the items on the project, we normally get around 50% of that 30 billion worth of project. So that two project alone translate to almost more than 15 billion to almost 20 billion.
Parang walang pandemic ah. So finocus nyo na sa the way I saw your presentation, looks like you're focusing now on the construction, di ba? And infra projects. And airports, tsaka ito marami kang mga projects sa mga LGUs di ba? Now,
correct.
But I don't know, I have to ask you this, Edgar. Siyempre na-report na you got the Manila International, the NAIA, di ba? NAIA.
Yes.
Alam mo, ito talaga nasa tanong ng mga tao.
Controversial yan.
Ha? Controversial. Kaya unahin na natin yun.
Unahin na natin dyan.
Ano ba nangyari doon? You got it, tapos 5 months later nawala. Now, you're getting into a lot of these government projects and election is just down the road. Edgar, baka ano ba yan? Explain mo nga naman yan so that our viewers now will try to understand, diba? Na how it is, diba? How it is. And moving forward, paano yan?
Okay. Kasi totoo lang, Marvin, during the pandemic, we never stop we never stop working. So, in fact, parati ko nga sinasabi, I feel nga I'm more productive during the pandemic, even up to now, di ba? Kasi, can you imagine, we're just doing virtual, but at least I'm speaking in front of more than 1,000 audience. So, if I do this in a normal physical pre-pandemic, scenario, I need to travel to Makati, I will be losing the whole day, di ba? Now after this, later I will be closing another deal. So just doing everything online. So totoo yan I'm not kidding, pero totoo yan. So all of this happened during preparation of the bid, work with the LGU. All of this happened during the pandemic, including that NAIA. So
online.
Ang sinasabi lang namin right now naman Marvin, medyo we're not getting new projects yet. Ito ngayon until next year, we try para meron muna kaming pahinga muna. All those projects that we mentioned were submitted last year, some of them 2 years ago. Sabi ko nga Marvin, isa lang naman ang hindi namin nakuha kung hindi slam dunk grand slam na kami, yung NAIA lang.
Kinuha niyo na lahat ng airport.
Ha? Nakuha
niyo na lahat ng airport.
Hindi naman, yung NAIA lang. Because at that time kasi, 'di ba? Naman, when the news came out that the previous bidder withdrew their proposal. So tinawagan kami. So we expressed interest. Yun lang naman 'yon. But anyway, to make the long story short, kasi Marvin, too many complicated, and daming very ano bang right term? I have to may ingat lang ako, Marvin. I have to be politically correct.
I understand. Just say what you can say.
We're being attacked left or right Ang daming stakeholders dyan And too many interested parties. Marvin, alam mo naman sa Philippines, di ba? There are players, they play dirty, di ba? Hindi naman lahat malinis para sa atin, di ba? We always win our project fair and square Pag kunyari, yung bidding, open bid, kahit sino pa yan, kahit Chinese yan, state-owned Chinese, foreigner, local, we're willing to compete Pero kunyari may dirty playing, that's not our way of doing business, Marvin Kaya nga tingin ko, Marvin, kaya ang Pilipinas hindi nagpo-progreso kulang kasi ng new players Mapipigilan ng mga few players.
Kaya nga Edgar That's why what difference ito nga, 'di ba? You learned few things about that, itong pandemic, itong nangyari diyan sa NAIA, but itong pinasok niyo yung projects, 'di ba? How different is that now? These projects that you got, these are projects of the government. Some are funded locally and foreign, and I can imagine may mga Japanese dito and other foreigner for ODAs and all of these things, and how different are your operations, Megawide's operations against other competitors? Yan sabi mo, di ba, may mga other competitors, mga interested parties dyan eh. But how strong and how different are you ba? Kasi 10 years ago when I sa IPO natin, I went to your plant I went to your precast, tiningnan ko talaga yan. I met your engineers, yung mga meron ka pang German, tsaka meron ka pang Japanese, tsaka Swedish ba yung isa? I think
French.
French. Okay. So how different is your operations against all of these other competitors?
Okay. Number one kasi, Marvin, if you look at from the construction, if you compare us to other construction companies, number one, we're fully integrated. So in terms of capability, Marvin, modesty aside, I'll rather be honest kaysa maghiya-hiya ako. I'll just, sa totoo lang, Marvin, in terms of know-how, we're far, far ahead of the competition in Philippines. We're doing a lot of new methodologies, a lot of new approach, very similar to Japan, very similar to Europe. Ang layo namin dun sa ibang competition. So because we have invested all these technologies and people since we were small, yung medium size pa lang kami. So I remember at that time, the big construction companies were already asking, bakit itong mga bata na to gastos ng gastos? I mean, how can they afford to hire these people and then spend all this equipment expensive? Well, I think they missed the innovation part. Kasi part of the strategy we have before, it's fine we can get a smaller margin for as long as we can double, triple our capacity. In the end, is the speed game. Whoever can build faster can grow faster. So yun At that time, yung innovation was not yet the inward but we were already doing the innovation practically. We were already investing in technology. And technology naman is as good as if you have the right people.
So in other words, you don't shy away from big investments, foreign as they are, or even hire foreigners to help you out in the technology for as long as he can deliver you the quality and the speed.
Yes,
that you want. And is that the defining difference that you have against other competitors?
Correct. Plus another one pa, Marvin, yung engineering part. My DNA kasi, Marvin, I'm a structural engineer and then naging civil engineer ako, naging construction engineer ako. Meaning, what does that mean? In construction kasi, you need to understand design, the engineering part, and you also need to understand the construction. So, galing ako doon. So, that's why when we went to public, diba, in our IPO, I remember, Marvin, one of our vision is to diversify from a purely construction to a developer in infrastructure and also construction for infrastructure. Yeah, so that's what we said 2012, and it's happening, diba? It happened and it's happening. So that's why the first PPP projects of the government, sumama agad, nag-participate agad kami. So we realized din also, Marvin, this infrastructure as developer, we saw the advantage kasi by having the capability of engineering and construction, ang laking impact in terms of your capex cost, in terms of your capex cost and also your operating cost. Kasi if you are a technical guy or technical company, you understand the full process of the capex, of the asset and the operations, you have a big advantage. So that's why marami rin nagtanong, Marvin, sa amin that why are we so bold to compete with the big boys, with the big companies in the Philippines in the infrastructure space? Sabi ko nga, ba't naman ako matakot? Kami nga lang yung construction company dito eh. The rest are not construction company. Shouldn't I be, I be wondering bakit nga yung mga non-construction are participating in the infra? Yun ang tanong ko, di ba? But the only difference, we were small. And we are small compared to them. Yun lang ang difference. But in terms of know-how, nakita ko na eh. And we were able to, we have the track records. Tinapos namin yung Mactan, tinapos natin yung 10,000 classroom, tinapos natin yung Clark and PITX. All of these are track records and we build it on time. So, I mean, if you compare our records, track records, compared to other companies, modesty aside ulit, ang layo naman. At yung quality naman natin, Marvin, first world, diba? Hindi yung parang tinipid. Diba?
First world.
Nare-recognize ng international body lahat. Mactan, classroom.
And this you got because you are not afraid to invest and get information or technical knowledge from those who are experts. And ito mga foreigners nga, di ba?
Yes.
Helping you out.
Yes, kasi Marvin, yung DNA kasi namin, we are a builder. We are really a builder. So engineering and builder kami. So that's why in infrastructure, we are very confident na we can compete anyone. Especially in the Philippines, lalo na pag foreigner ka. In Clark nga, Marvin, we competed with 5 Chinese state-owned companies. No one expected we will win that project.
Chinese pa kalaban nyo, ha?
Chinese, 5 state-owned, yung mga malalaki. And we were able to bid it lower than them. Malaking difference, And then, yung airport, includes design and build. 27 months lang binigay sa amin.
Okay.
Natapos ng 26 months.
Oh, may 1 month, pa.
Oh, kaya kahit even pandemic, 'di ba, nasa news, we were able to open it last year ng May, June, mga ganyan.
Okay,
so,
okay.
May track record naman Marvin eh. Kaya nga maraming tumitira eh.
Ay, loko. Oh my God. Anyway, sige Edgar, tanungin na rin kita na alam mo, you mentioned your airport is half of your value. Parang zero pala, zero. The market is valuing your airport zero. And,
now, yes.
And now, and I understand. The other countries are already opening up. Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, Australia are pivoting to what you call living with COVID. So, and now, I just read na okay na rin pala, hindi na kailangan ng PCR tsaka ng antigen sa Cebu. So, Manila, Cebu, you can already go without PCR antigen for as long as you're vaccinated. Now, my question, are you prepared to open up and how soon can you open up? Kasi I can imagine, sabi mo kanina, infrastructure mo, puro pambayad na lang ng interest tsaka So, meron bang dyan? Are you prepared na ba? How prepared are you?
Marvin, last year pa kami prepared. We never close and we're always prepared. Excited na nga yung mga tao namin doon eh. And they are so bored now kasi wala silang magawa.
Oh, so you kept the people. You kept the people there.
Yeah, they're still there. They're still there.
Oh. Hi, let's invite Ramon and Feliciano in the Q&A. Oh, kamusta na? Kamusta naman doon? So you did not cut people. You did not cut people. You did not.
No.
Oo.
Meron din, of course.
Meron din.
We had to right size based on the demand. Pero when you say are we ready to open, we have been open. We have been open all the time. Now it's a matter of
Maliit na yung volume.
volume. Are the people ready to travel? I think that's the more relevant question rather than us being ready to open,
Meaning we're always ready.
We've been open. We never did close.
Kami, kating-kating na kami mag-travel eh. So,
yes.
We're just waiting for... And,
we expect revenge travel. Revenge travel.
Kaya nga Marvin, what I can say lang to our investors is that we don't have that control diba? So for us lang, siguro a lot of investors are asking din na when do we expect now Mactan to go back to go back to pre-pandemic traffic. Sabi ko, very difficult to project, but what we can say lang, these are the informations, these are the data that are happening, these are the traffic that are happening in different countries which I presented earlier. So we think kung bumalik tayo sa normal, where if that time will happen, then ito rin mangyayari sa atin. So as my presentation earlier, presented by Rolly, mga nasa 80 to 90%, 70 to 90, yung mga ibang countries like US, Japan, Singapore. So we hope if everything will open, no, so like schools, mga restaurants, so tingin ko baka ganun din tayo.
Tama ba? You lost about last year because of that, di ba? And kung bumalik, isa't magkano yun, Ramon? About 1 billion ba that you lost and in the Cebu operation? Tama ba?
Yeah, close to. Not really. Close to.
Hindi naman, no? But so, pag bumalik yon, does that mean you'll reverse that right away? Is that the potential?
There is it's really a numbers game for people traveling. Because there is if you hit a certain number of people traveling, wala na, the rest are all gravy. Because you have your fixed costs. You're all, right now we're doing fixed costs. Puro fixed cost yan eh. But once you reach a certain level, that's gravy already. Like for example, I mean, this is no secret. Before the pandemic, our operations had several billions in cash. Yun ang nakasave. The time that's over during the pandemic because our operations in Cebu had a lot of cash. So yun, I mean, we foresee it to go back to the same. I mean, what's the difference? Well, the only difference is really the number of travelers. That's all. So, kung sasabihin mo, are we going to bounce back right away sa airport?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. If like again, it's all correlated to the number of passengers.
Yeah. Sobrang baba kasi ng traffic namin.
Baba talaga.
Nasaan na ba ngayon? 10% na ba? Asan na ba ngayon?
Less than 10% nga eh. So, kung mga 30% yan, 40%, I think baka mag-break even.
Break even na yan. By that number, break even.
Yeah, so kailangan lang talaga ma-open up eh.
Open up lang.
Pero open up yan, being called. Just like other countries, nasa 70-80% na sila eh.
Yeah, but if you think kailan mag-stabilize yung COVID, I mean, nobody really knows. But what is in the horizon, if you read the news, you have Merck, who is developing already a pill to combat COVID. They're already in large-scale trials. Yung Pfizer, they're on stage 3 trials. And yung stage 2 trial are all yung oral vaccine at saka nasal spray vaccine. Those are early stage trials already. So we believe that this, this thing siguro, I mean, by next year siguro may available na. Like Singapore already ordered Merck. Tayo we're now lining up to order also Merck. I mean, parang flu. Biogesic lang ang kulang. So, basically, that's how it will be.
Saying nga, available na to by year end eh. There was this article that was...
No, sa Singapore. I don't know about here. Singapore is available. So yun ang so when will it end or when will we have increase in traffic? Well, it only God knows when. But we know it will happen. We know definitely it will happen. So on the part of the investors, kung zero yung value ng airport ngayon, paano yun when you open? Magkano na ngayon ang value ng airport in the stock price? So, I think now is a nice way to look at Megawide.
No, I just like to push this further lang. Just before I leave this. For one reason or another, ma-delay. Ito, hindi nangyari next quarter. Di ba? for one reason or another, hindi natin alam, diba? Only God knows. And
Yeah.
kamusta naman ang inyong liquidity and your financing? How is it now? Can you tide this over?
Yes, let me put it this way. Yung airport natin, we did the rebalancing. Ang kagandahan doon is that we pushed back principal payments up to 2024.
Mhm.
Siguro naman, ano? Between now and 2024, I mean, kung hindi pa tayo nagbukas between now and 2024, pati Pilipinas, sarado ko na. Sarado na. You know, in 2024, wala na, padre. Wala na maiiwan. Wala na maiiwan. Can you imagine that? You know what I'm trying to say. So, in other words, kung yung ano natin, yung GMCAC, yung airport natin, yung principal payments, we were able to push it back. We were able to match kung ano yung travel with our cash flows. So, nakamatch yun. So, that should not be an issue with regards to the airport. 2024 yun. Ang kagandahan din, because we've started this rationalization of our debt structures, on a Megawide parent level, our debts, ang due ng long-term debts natin, will also start in 2024. So medyo 2022, 2023, nakapahinga yung ako. Basically, nakapahinga ako for 2 years. So I'll probably take my long vacation kasi wala tayong babayaran na utang in the next 2 years. So that gives us breathing space for Megawide as a parent to really beef up its whatever we need to do in our financial structuring, diba? So if there is a need for funding, it can be covered by our short-term bank lines. So yun lang masasabi ko. So in other words, yun nga nasabi ni Ed na maraming nagawa during pandemic. Also on our side, marami rin kaming nagawa during pandemic. We were able to restructure many things to match.
So Ramon, these projects that you got, itong order book nyo, that can easily now be funded and you can finish that on time and smoothly in terms of financing.
Actually, in terms of financing, these guys have may mga down payments naman yun eh. May down payment, tapos may progress billing. So, it's kumbaga self-sustaining siya. Kung meron mang hiccups on the way, it's not that substantial to disrupt the whole flow. Kasi meron, of course, magkakaroon talaga ng hiccup, you know. So, what we're saying here is it could be covered. It could be covered by our debt headrooms.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Maybe we should make a distinction between
development and construction.
Yeah, but,
that's the construction side.
Yeah, that's the
construction side I'm talking about. That's not the infra side.
So we're not wearing the developer hat here, no. We're the contractor, and the developer here is the government. So that's why we receive advance payments, progress payments, like what Ramon mentioned a while ago, no. So in other words, there's a continuous cash flow basically that goes to the company. And at some point, it becomes self-sustaining already on a per-project basis. No? So, in fact, those projects don't put a drain on our cash flow. They actually increase our cash flow even further.
Good. So, now that I have you, Jim, I have a question kasi when I saw your background, you were formerly an assistant secretary at the Department of Transportation and Communication. And your business development. Can you explain the coincidence? Paano ba how does your business development work now?
I thought this was a webinar for Megawide.
Lawyer pa. Don't forget, lawyer pa.
No, I guess it was really the exposure to infra during my public sector days, and then eventually at also the ADB. No, I was doing infra in ASEAN. So it was something that really interested me. No? So it was a natural fit, I guess, when when Edgar told me that, hey, you might want to join my team, no, because we're focusing on infra. So it just made sense to join, no. So it was BD, business development, yes, but more from an infrastructure perspective.
So that includes the ports, itong mga PITX, itong mga LGU arrangements.
Yeah, that's right. The ports, not yet. We're not looking at that yet, no, because there's just so many opportunities out there. I don't think that we have enough bandwidth to cover everything. The rail projects alone, we're looking at what, 200 billion worth of rail projects in the next couple of years, no. So it's a lot to take in. And then we also have the transport centric developments, no, which Ed also mentioned a while ago. So we're looking at replicating the land port, like what we have at PTEX, maybe at a smaller scale, no, because we're partnering with the multiple LGUs across the country. But what we want to achieve is a network, basically a network of land ports to be interconnected with each other, no. So the business is really transport, and we build a commercial ecosystem around that transportation network.
Good. Sige.
Ikaw na lang mag-isip, Padre, ha? You have in PTEX, then you have in Baguio. So you just connect the dots in between. I mean, you can come up with your own conclusions there.
Good. Sige. We have a lot of questions from advanced questions from our audience, and we group them together and try to organize it. And our help will be, let's get to the first questions that our audience sent. Ito. Regarding business, I think half of the people asked about this. This is a question by Wally. What is the situation of construction in the Philippines right now? And how will the upcoming elections and new president affect the industry? Construction industry as a whole, maybe not just infra, but general construction. Can you give us an idea?
Maybe construction in general.
Sige.
Construction in general.
In general kasi, no, in construction, there are many segment kasi, no. But in terms of infra, these infrastructure projects right now, Melvin, that are in the pipeline, no. Ito yung mga JICA and ADB funded. We know naman, ADB and JICA has been in the country for the last 4 or 5 decades, diba? So we believe whoever will be the new administration, the new president, they will respect this. So this 400 to 500 billion worth of projects, mangyayari to. Mm-hmm. And also, I think naman, like every presidential candidate right now, I think lahat naman siguro sila, no, alam nila that we really need infrastructure. The country needs infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the question of what kind of model every administration would go for. Yun lang yun eh. But the good thing for Megawide kasi for us, we're very flexible, right, in different model. So for infrastructure, we see for construction, we see the infrastructure will happen. Now, for the other, no, in the construction, the private side, we think the commercial will still soft, and mga malls, but yung mga affordable housing sector, malakas pa rin eh, even during pandemic.
Okay, construction. Kasi build. So I would think that will continue. We really badly need construction.
Yes.
Marami kasi tayong infrastructure na kailangan, Marvin eh. Not limited to railways, even 'di ba naman we don't have water in Metro Manila, 'di ba? Yung dams, yung mga sewage treatment plant, ang daming infrastructure that parang delayed na nga to eh. These are all backlog. So kailangan these projects needs to be built 10, 15, 20 years ago.
So we're just catching up. We're just
catching up eh. We're just hoping whoever will be the new president, no, will really push faster. Kasi yun naman ang always ng challenge ng Philippines eh, yung speed.
Yeah. Okay. And you will have your hands full. Ito, next question.
Flexible tayo.
Yeah. Ito, next question by Enrique. Do we expect revival of the proposal for the NAIA rehabilitation project which was disregarded by the government? So napag-usapan to.
This one I'll take siguro.
Sige,
Jim.
This one, I guess the short answer is we don't know. No, we don't know what the decision of the next administration will be when it comes to NAIA. What we do know is that there will be a push coming from the next administration to improve and rehabilitate NAIA, especially when the traffic comes back, right? That's for sure. That's for sure. Now, the question is, in what way will they do it? Will they do it through a public procurement, where they invite companies to participate in the construction, or will they do it via PPP? We don't know in what manner they will try to redevelop NAIA. But whatever their decision is, we'll support the government. We'll support the next administration. So if they say you participate as a contractor, sure, we can do that. If they say you take over and then you invest, and then you just you recover your investment by operations and maintenance, basically you get the concession, that's also okay. But whatever their decision is, we will support them.
Okay, sige. Next group of questions, let's have them. On strategy, question by Gareth. How do you see the pivot to big ticket projects impacting the profitability of Megawide, and is this an all-in-one basket approach? Siguro ang question nito is baka mababa lang ang margins ng big ticket tapos may mga kasama ka pang iba.
Well, I think totoo yan because most of our partners, especially the foreign companies, mas their expectation on the margin is really lower. But because of the sheer size kasi ng project, the sheer size is one package around 20 to 30 billion. So kami, may mga consortium kami where we are the 35, meron din kami umaabot as high as 80, 90. So let's say on the average, we get 50 to 60%, yung share namin. So overall, mas malaki pa rin. That's why yung question mo kanina, bakit tumaas ng 20 billion? That's one of the reasons. Malaki kasi yung package, isang package lang.
Okay.
Now, in terms of gross profit margin naman, Marvin, totoo yung first project, we bidded single digit and we realized we bidded 24% lower than the lowest bid.
24%?
Yun nga. So that's why I told to our partners, why do we have to make it single digit if we can bid 20% lower than the rest, diba? So come on, sabi ko then something is wrong. So now we're calibrating it.
Okay.
But to add to that, Ed, it's not just the project that we are talking about. Kasi nasa supply side din tayo. We also supply the concrete. We supply the mga formworks, mga equipment. So there is ancillary businesses that go into the project, which are not part of the profitability of that particular project. You see? So kung itotal mo, matotal, tumataas pa rin yung namin. Tumataas pa rin yung GP namin for that particular project. And because nga we are fully integrated, maski matalo kami, panalo pa rin. Kasi kami rin magsusupply sa mga those who won. So what's you know what I mean? So it's not really kasi ilan lang ang pwedeng mag-supply, and when we're one of the few. We may not get all, but I tell you, we will still get a sizable amount the supply side.
Yes.
Diba? So that helps in the profitability.
Okay.
So gusto namin itong mga infra kasi if we may not win, but we will still win in that sense because we are supplying. Diba?
Okay.
Oh,
Sige.
yeah.
Ito, question ni Gilbert. I guess this is about the pandemic. Kinuwento naman nyo na to, no? But did you have to cut people, and then may protocols na ba kayo that you do every day na testing or all of this hygiene thing? What were the strategies that you use? At tanatanong ni Gilbert.
Yeah, actually, naman, diba? We had several lockdowns, no? Yung recent natin, GCQ ba yun or ECQ, like April, May, June, you can see even on our quarter-on-quarter revenue, Marvin, tumataas na. That means even during pandemic, we're able to operate our construction business. So even on our PTEX, practically almost all naman. So ang sinasabi lang namin, but we are also tracking on our cases. So relatively our case is more very manageable yung cases namin. Tapos we have a lot of protocols including benefits, including correct mga yung mga crisis management natin in terms of response natin of protocols, like we even parang develop or build our own facilities, different areas, just to make sure all the employees, if they get COVID, meron silang mapupuntahan. And sabi namin, sige, we top several hospitals. Nung puno sila, we also bought several medical equipment. Meron kaming parang mini ICU on our own in the event na walang mapuntahan yung employees. So all of these are part of the protocols that we set up. Even up to now, ready kami. So that's why we told to our employees that don't worry, kahit you will be safer kahit nasa office kayo or kahit sa bahay, kahit yung family nyo nga, kung may kailangan, we bring the equipment, all the medicines, equipment, and we bring the doctors, the service para pupunta doon. Kasi diba, may time, Marvin, na talagang punong-puno yung hospital eh.
Good. Sige. Let's another group of questions. The next slide. Ito about growth plans. Maybe Jim, you can take this, no? Tanong ni Carlo and even Van Kim asking, long term, is Megawide expand overseas? And ito pa rin, no? If you plan expansion projects in Mindanao.
Overseas, I think there's plenty to go around here in the country.
Di na kailangan.
Di muna in the short, medium term, but it's not entirely impossible. Possible pa rin to look at expanding overseas at some point in the future, but definitely not in the short or medium term. No. Mindanao, I think if there's scale, if there's a sizable project that we can build there, I think it's something that we can definitely look into. I think there are already established players there for the typical real estate projects. But if there's a significant and sizable infra opportunity, then definitely Mindanao is something that we'll look at.
Yeah, Marvin, marami kaming taga Mindanao dito
sa Visayas. Ako taga Zamboanga ako
Ganun ba?
Yeah. Ako,
Okay.
taon ako sa Mindanao.
Yeah.
Sige. Next group of questions about industry and competition. Question by Ed. How do we see Megawide compared to its major competitors in the next 5 years?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think yung competitors, ang construction lang naman, in the construction segment, siguro ang masasabi lang namin, we know naman, we are one of the, I would say probably the youngest among the big players, no? So we think in the next 5 years, we believe we can grow the company bigger, and then we can have more diverse projects like infrastructure, eventually utilities. Yun ang nakikita namin for the construction side. But as a developer side, we hope the next administration will be able to roll out their infrastructure to improve our infrastructure facilities such as airport, yung mga transport projects natin. So we see in the next 5 years we'll have hopefully more transport-oriented development in this infrastructure. This will include like the bus, as explained earlier, including some operation probably with the rail projects. And for airports, I think we will only that will depend on the government directions.
Sige. Etong other two questions, I think industry nasagot mo na to eh. Let's go to the next group. To Megawide stock. Why invest in Megawide? Tanong ni Gilbert. And looking at the balance sheet with the high debt to asset ratio, how will Mr. Saavedra persuade a value investor to buy? A question from Jerome. So mga tanong sa stock mo, this is the common stock, hindi yung preferred na ino-offer natin.
Yeah. Siguro ako muna yan sa first one. of course, kung titingnan yung debt natin, mataas. But if you slice and dice the whole process, actually, the debt is due to the projects. So it's covered by project financing, which will be paid through through the operations of the project. Like our PTEX is covered by project financing. Our airports is covered by project financing. But if you look at the Megawide parent, our debt to equity ratio is only at 1.1 is 1 is to 1.1. Wherein it's 2.33 yung required by the banks. So actually, sa parent level, mataas pa ang headroom. Yeah. So if you look at balance sheet at face value, talagang masashock ka. That's why you need to slice and dice it. Actually, the debt is in the project. It's a project financing, which are covered by a different covenant, which have a payment schedule on its own. So that's how we should look at the balance sheets. Now, on why invest in Megawide? As we said earlier, the price now does not include the airport. So what happens if you include the airport? Yeah, I think it's I don't need to answer that. I think
yes.
Individual investor who should answer that. How much kaya ang airport kung isali natin? Kailan kaya papasok yung airport? I think that's the biggest question.
Okay.
Then in terms of
dividends.
Yung
The
dividends.
third question.
Well,
you declare dividends anytime soon.
Yeah, our policy is 30% of previous year's performance. Yun na. Tingnan mo na performance last year.
Okay.
So
last
year, that's why we did not pay this year.
That's common
so
stock.
We will see what happens at the end of this year.
Yeah, so that's common stock dividend yun.
Common stock.
Yung
yes.
preferred shares.
We always continued paying our preferreds. We never, we never defaulted. It was always. We always make sure that the preferred dividends are paid.
So itong ino-offer yung preferred share dividend, preferred shares that you are now offering now is that to fund anything or re-replace?
Yeah, it's to actually ang Series 1 natin, which we issued 7 years ago, mag-due. So it's really just to fund our Series 1 preferreds.
Okay.
So it's not towards a certain project. No, it's to fund our Series 1. But why are we doing that? Kasi cheaper ngayon ang interest rate, mahal ang interest rate noon. So by doing so, we save right away for 2022 onwards kasi may step up kasi yun eh. So if kung nag-step up yun, mahal talaga.
Okay.
So because of this, it's in the news. We were able to get it at the pricing was at 5.3%. So medyo mababa tayo. With that, we were able to technically save over 100 million pesos. 170 to be exact.
Every year yan.
Yan. So, malaking savings na rin yun. Di ba? In interest expense.
Sige. Let's get the I think this is the last group questions that we have. Ito, the preferred shares. So, it's 3.5 years. Preferred doesn't technically have a maturity, di ba? But
it's perpetual. Perpetual
to. Pero what does it mean? 3.5 years. Ito, nagtatanong si Apollo, no? He's asking kung mabre-redeem pa niya yung pera niya after 3.5 years.
Yeah, like now, we just redeemed we will be redeeming a 7-year preferred already by December. So, yung 3.5, we will be redeeming that too. If I just mentioned earlier na yung debt tower natin, medyo we're extending it. We're just extending it. So, between now and 3.5 years from now, we will be accumulating cash. So definitely we will be able to redeem this the three the preferreds that we're going to issue now.
Okay. And then the second question, ano na
Yeah,
to? Nasagot mo na yan. At this point, mag-extend lang tayo, Edgar. Sandali lang. May mga questions sa online ngayon.
Sure.
Okay lang. Mag-extend tayo ng konti.
Of course.
Sige. Can we get some of those questions from ating Slido? Ito. From George. With the rise siguro to in prices of construction materials and additional cost to implement the health protocols imposed by the government, how will this impact your margins?
Okay. Yeah. Actually, yung cost ng protocol, ng health protocol is more manageable. The more challenging one is the prices. But ang pinaka-challenge lang naman isa lang dyan, yung steel, the rebar and the steel reinforcement bars. So for us, it's really a procurement and finance strategy. Normally, when we get projects, we try to make sure if there is an escalation provision, or we try to lock in the steel price, or the last one, we will try to hedge it. So that's one of the few thing that we're able to do now. We are able to hedge even up to 2 to 3 years. So that's one way for us to be able to manage, to mitigate all those yung cost increase of cost.
So margins are protected more or less.
Yes.
Margins are okay.
Yes.
Good. Sige, next question. Let's get maybe a couple more. Nag-extend tayo eh. So, okay, question to by what is the impact of elections to your order books? Can you comment on the different funding types that next administration may offer and how this will affect Megawide? Which funding format would be most advantageous for a company like Megawide? So, impact muna ng elections in your order book.
I think tapos na yung na-stop na project because of pandemic. Tapos na eh. So all these new projects are build projects, and yung mga projects na talagang matutuloy. So I don't see any change anymore. Not unless there will be another pandemic na total lockdown just like 2 years ago. Ibang usapan yun
Yeah.
So for the next naman, I think it really depends on the next administration. But for us, we're hopeful whoever will be the next administration. So we are very flexible, and we are very flexible to adopt whatever type of model of procurement that the next administration will be using. So we will always be participating and be competitive. So we will always be competitive when it comes to the fair and square bidding.
Okay. So which funding format daw will be most advantageous? What I think.
Well, I think that will depend also on the next whatever is the project, whatever is the type of projects. So whatever instrument that we will be using, that will depend on the type of structure of the bid.
So iba-iba yan, iba-iba.
Iba-iba. Project finance, we do project finance. Now we'll see. So it depends on the on the timing, it depends on the type of also the type of projects.
Okay, sige. Maybe let's get one last question. Meron pa ba tayong question sa kasi natakal na by Erickson. When do you expect the private construction, high-end condos, office buildings to come back to pre-pandemic levels? Do you think the big developers will play it safe until elections are over? So when do you expect?
Oh, well, for us kasi, Marvin, I can say lang, for us, we try to stay away muna from this sector. So we're focusing muna on those markets where it's more resilient to pandemic. So we prefer the infrastructure, the utility projects, the affordable housing type, mas safe kasi. So we don't know it. So the commercial and the high-end, we try to stay away from that segment.
Okay. Sige. Okay, last. Let's just get one last question from John. Based on what you know now in construction industry, what are your key learnings and how do you apply this in Megawide? So ano yung natutunan mo? What are your key learnings, Edgar?
Yeah, I think for the the being innovative is really very key. And also number one, no, that's one key trait that one has to have, especially in construction, because your know-how or your technique or your methodologies that if you can build faster, if you can build better, that gap, that advantage will translate to margin. So that's very key. Number two, in construction also, is really people management. It's not about just purely employee, but it's all about relationship with your people, with your contractors, with vendors, suppliers, client, everything, stakeholders is really very key. Because no matter how smart you are, how intelligent you are, I think you cannot deliver the job on the right cost and the right time. So it's really, that's why for me the two key factors why Megawide is able to grow faster is because we make sure we manage our people, employees, vendors, all the stakeholders, and the innovation part. So for us, that's one of the traits I would say very key on how to succeed in construction. Otherwise, you will just be one of the typical construction companies that wherein it's very difficult to compete.
Thank you for that. So I think that's about it, no? Edgar, siguro, can I ask you maybe some final words before we close this interesting conversation?
Okay. Siguro konti lang, no? I think what I will want to say lang siguro, Marvin, is we know naman we have these pressures. Now, last year, yun yung pinaka-worst na, no? Where all of us, we have a total lockdown. So, I saw one of the two questions there asking about we have lost last year. So in spite of that, we paid all our obligations, even in the preferred shares. Now I also saw one question that we lost 500 million. Now this is the right venue also to explain to the investors, no? Last year kasi Marvin, we took a call in how to deal with our people. Sabi ko, no single employee in Megawide will not get their full salary. And that's what we did. Sabi ko, my only request to the employees and all the people in the organizations, we'll pay you, we'll keep whole all the salaries. Then we'll work hard, double time after the pandemic. So, I mean, yun yung pinaka-importante. Pero sabi ko, we know the losses will become bigger because we couldn't operate, diba? April, May, June, wala talaga. No matter what, we have people working on the ground. But the problem is the supply chain, walang supply . But sabi ko, it's fine. Sige, okay lang. We will take the hit now. But we know we can recover. So, ang sa akin lang, for us, I want to explain it that even though we have that loss last year, because we pay all our employee full in salary, number one. Number two, now those projects that were cut, that need to close, we need to let go some of them. We pay them double the mandatory requirement. Now, there are other bigger companies, far bigger than us, who did not do that. What does that mean? We have a different approach in the management style, meaning, that's what I'm saying . We want to take care of our people, but ngayon naman, sabi ko, we need to work hard naman, diba? Kasi pambawi na . So to the investors, now probably to justify, I want to say this because that's the decisions I did and the management did there last year. We took that decision. So I want to explain it to the shareholders, to the investors. This is the decision that we did. We make sure we take care of our people, but we will work harder. That's why we're able to increase the order book. And right now, even to the second wave, third wave na ECQ, GCQ, we're able to operate the business. Which I think, I'm also proud with our employees and our people that we're able to do that, because not all companies were able to, were not able to go back to the normal. So yun lang, at least. So I just want to assure na looking forward naman, if you look at the horizon of Megawide in the next 3 to 5 years, you have series of pipelines. The 67 billion now, there is one more that we're waiting for the final award, significant din, subway to. And we are able to participate we have the chance to participate in this series of different packages of these subway, MRTs. We think we can hit 100 billion. It's a matter of like time lang. So what we are saying, we have enough business, enough activities to further pay all the obligations. And then we are still young in the organization, so we're still very active.
Bata pa.
Mukha lang, matanda, but mukhang bata.
Ay, nako.
10 years ago, tama ka, young engineers. Ngayon, old engineers. Tama.
Young looking pa rin. Okay, with that, maraming salamat. Maraming salamat, Edgar. It's really a very interesting conversation. And I also would like to thank Ramon and Jim for their participation in this conversation. Salamat, Edgar. We'll talk to you again, ha?
Yes, thank you. Thank you to our audience.
I'll try to end this and give you some key takeaway from this very interesting conversation. You know, yes, this company was hit last year, sabi nga ni Edgar, no? But they paid their people well and now they worked harder and somehow re-engineered their operations. And they've shown sequential improvement, I think, last quarter and for the coming quarters. And they restructured their debts and extended it to 2024 and reduced some overhead, made themselves more nimble, and focused on what they do best, which is construction. That is why they're getting large construction projects that has brought their order book to an all-time high. Sabi ni Edgar, about 67 billion. And he's confident that they can reach 100 billion. They focus their attention on construction, while their Cebu Airport and Pasay Landport Terminal have yet to be fully operational. But with other countries already preparing themselves to live with COVID and open up travel, reducing restrictions, and also our country just recently announced slowly that we're reducing restrictions also as well. Maybe, and the light at the end of the tunnel is getting very clearer. No, it is just a matter of time when we will all learn to live with COVID as well, and this company's turnaround will be sustained. Now, looking at their preferred shares offering, the yield is relatively attractive at 5.3% for a 3.5-year period. This is much higher than what you can get from bonds and bank products. Something to consider for your portfolio for that particular time frame. I have often said in managing our portfolios to keep an open mind with what is out there. We should not just look at our equities portfolios. We have to look at our investments as a whole. And this investment is for the medium term. Common stocks are for the long term. So this conversation gives us a glimpse of the opportunities the market offers. Preferred shares, for instance. It also gives us insights that companies that learn to pivot and utilize their competitive advantage will recover and may even come out stronger. Construction is picking up, infrastructure will continue, and airports will hopefully fully open soon. So we'd like to thank again the senior management of Megawide, led by their chairman and CEO, Edgar Saavedra. We wish you guys all the best, and we look forward to more conversations with you in the future. We will share this video in our socials, and we will also give highlights of our research via email. And if you want to be part of the invite list of COL Conversations, sign up through bit.ly/COL Conversations events so that you may have this seasons ticket that you can continue being part of our COL Conversations. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. This has been Marvin Fausto. See you on Monday we will have our next call conversations with no less than the former Senator Manny Villar. That would be interesting to talk about the latest IPO all day. So I look forward to that. And thank you and good afternoon to all.